Cynthia found her attention wandering once again, a fact that didn't escape Emma's notice as Cynthia tried to stand. Her body refused to move, trapped in place. With a sharp sigh of frustration, Emma snapped, "Why are you just lying there? You're nothing but a daughter-in-law here." In one swift motion, Emma yanked the cushion from under Cynthia, sending her sprawling onto the floor mat. Reflexively, Cynthia protected her abdomen, but was met with the sting of Emma's kick. "Get up!" Emma sneered, her gaze hard as she eyed Cynthia's pregnant belly. "That bump is nothing but a nuisance. You should have received another kick for that." Just as everything seemed to spiral out of control, a voice cut through the tension, forcing Emma into submission. A firm hand intervened, ensuring Cynthia would be safe from further harm. Cynthia, 33, was navigating a challenging pregnancy, but the love for her unborn child and its father kept her going. "Are you okay, Cynthia? If you're feeling unwell, you need to tell me." Paul's concerned voice snapped her back to reality. They were on their way to her parents' house to share their joyous news. Paul, ever watchful, made sure Cynthia was okay, checking in with her constantly. Cynthia remembered how Paul had reacted when they found out she was pregnant. His joy had been overwhelming, not caring about the gender of the baby, just hopeful for a healthy child. Now, as they approached her parents' home, Cynthia felt a flutter of nerves. Unlike with her own parents, she had a different kind of anxiety about this visit. After her mother's passing, Cynthia's father had raised her and her brother alone. She adored him, but worried about leaving him behind after her brother had moved away. When Cynthia suggested to her father that they live together, she was met with an unexpected revelation: he was planning to remarry. Now, as they arrived at her parents' house, her stepmother greeted them warmly. "Hello! Welcome! It's been a while." "Hi, Mom," Cynthia greeted, a little awkwardly. Referring to her stepmother as Mom never felt quite right, especially since she entered Cynthia's life after she had moved out. Their interactions were few, and her stepmother's more serious demeanor contrasted sharply with Cynthia's laid-back father, making her harder to relate to. Today, however, was different. Cynthia had big news to share. As they all settled into the living room, her dad and stepmom across from her, Paul by her side, the air felt heavy with her nervous anticipation. "So, what's this big news?" her dad asked, his eyes twinkling with curiosity. Taking a deep breath, Cynthia spoke the words she had rehearsed. "I'm expecting. It's still early, but yes, I'm pregnant." "Really? That's amazing!" Her dad's face broke into a wide grin, his laugh lines deepening as he beamed with joy. "I'm going to be a granddad. Looks like I'll have to start embracing getting older." Paul and her dad were filled with excitement, their enthusiasm contagious. Meanwhile, Cynthia watched her stepmother closely, hoping for a hint of a reaction, but her face remained unreadable, leaving Cynthia to wonder how she truly felt about the news. After a pause, her stepmother stood, leaving the room and soon returning with a blanket and cushion. "Cynthia, use these. It can get cold in here," she said, handing them to Cynthia with a brief, soft smile. It was a small gesture, but one that made Cynthia feel a little warmth from the woman who was usually so distant. Yet, part of her still wished for something more, a simple congratulations. Perhaps it could have been a small bridge between them, a way to soften the space that existed between them. They had planned to leave shortly after sharing their news, but then Cynthia's brother and his wife, Emma, arrived unexpectedly. Since they lived nearby, visits to her parents were frequent, but today it felt like the perfect moment to share the news once more. "No way! You beat us to it!" her brother exclaimed in mock surprise. Emma shot him a playful glare before turning to Cynthia with a genuine smile. "First off, congratulations, Cynthia." "Thank you," Cynthia replied, noticing the resemblance Emma shared with her own mother, a blend of sincerity with a touch of sternness. Despite the warmth in Emma's voice, there was an underlying strength that made her presence felt. Actually, I'm a little jealous, Emma admitted with a light-hearted chuckle, though there was a clear undercurrent of envy in her voice. We've been trying for a while, but no luck yet. I guess we're just getting older. I tried to ease the moment with a smile. I'm only 3 years younger than you, so don't worry, you're not alone in feeling that way. Despite my words, a knot of discomfort tightened in my chest. Emma often made self-deprecating jokes, but I could sense the real longing beneath them, a desire for connection, for shared experiences that we both seemed to be chasing, albeit from different places. It always left me at a loss, unsure of how to respond. We should probably head out now, Paul, I suggested, feeling the weight of the day bearing down on me. Paul nodded in agreement, and as we gathered our things to leave, both families came to see us off. Just as we were about to step out, a sudden wave of dizziness swept over me, probably a mix of pregnancy hormones and the stress of the day. I grasped the handrail tightly, trying to steady myself, but then, without warning, a sharp force jolted into my right shoulder, throwing me off balance. Ouch! I gasped, barely managing to hold onto the rail. I'm so sorry, Cynthia. I didn't see you there and tripped. Emma apologized quickly, looking genuinely concerned. Her words didn't quite add up, though. We were walking down a straight corridor. If she'd tripped, wouldn't she have grabbed for the handrail or at least reached for someone nearby? Especially knowing I was pregnant, the thought made my stomach tighten, a prickling sense of unease creeping in. Sorry, you don't think I did that on purpose, do you? Please don't look at me like that, Emma added, her voice softer now as she caught the apprehensive look I had cast her way. I didn't know what to think. There was no solid reason to accuse her, no proof to suggest anything other than an unfortunate accident, but something about it didn't sit right with me. With a heavy heart, we said our goodbyes and left without further comment. At home, the incident lingered in my mind. Was I just being overly sensitive because of the pregnancy? My relationship with Emma had always been somewhat complicated, but overall, we'd gotten along. Still, the uneasy feeling gnawed at me. I tried to push it aside, convincing myself it was just my imagination running wild. But that moment felt like the first of many odd occurrences that would slowly chip away at my trust in Emma. The first real sign came shortly after, when I found that some of my personal belongings at my parents' house had been thrown away without explanation. My stepmom called me, sounding puzzled. I found some of your clothes in the trash. What do you want me to do with them? She asked. I asked her to leave them for me to check when I got a chance, hoping to discuss it further with Paul once I had a clearer picture. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It was unmistakably my belongings that had been discarded. I recognized the familiar items, clothes I had left behind at my parents' house. Both my dad and stepmom assured me they hadn't entered my room, let alone thrown anything away without asking. So who could have done it? The day before the trash was set to be picked up, Emma had visited, curiously, alone. As these thoughts swirled in my mind, my stepmom shot me a quiet, knowing look. It was as though she was acknowledging the growing tension between me and Emma, hinting at an awareness of the underlying unease. It made me wonder whether I was the only one sensing something off. As I mulled over my suspicions, I realized it might not be fair to jump to conclusions without concrete evidence, but the thought of asking Emma about it lingered in my mind. What else could I do? I questioned, reluctant to stir up unnecessary drama. I finally decided to let it go, convincing myself that Emma's visit was likely just a friendly gesture. The following weeks passed without incident. My pregnancy progressed smoothly, and by the 7th month, I felt physically stronger and more stable, with Emma and I not crossing paths during this time. My worries about her slowly faded. Then, an invitation came from my dad, asking Paul and me to join the family at the local festival. It was a yearly tradition that always brought everyone together. Amid the excitement, my dad mentioned that all our relatives were eager to see us and hear about the pregnancy. He reminded me to take it easy and not overexert myself, especially since standing for long periods with my growing belly was becoming harder. Still, Paul and I decided to attend, eager to share in the joy of the occasion. The warm welcome from our family and the flood of congratulations lifted my spirits, though it also made me more active than I should have been. "You're moving around quite a bit. Is it uncomfortable for you?" my stepmom asked, noticing the tightness in my belly that I hadn't even realized. Acknowledging her concern, I agreed to take it easy. She led me to a room with a mattress, encouraging me to rest for a while. The distant sounds of the celebration hummed around me, and I nearly drifted off to sleep until a tap on my head startled me awake. It was Emma. Her face was stern, and she scolded me for resting when everyone had gathered to see me. Without waiting for my response, she pulled me back into the midst of our relatives. Once surrounded by family, I couldn't bring myself to express my need for rest. Instead, I forced a smile and tried to stand as long as I could. But as the discomfort in my belly grew, every attempt to excuse myself was shut down by Emma. She insinuated that my desire to rest was a sign that I didn't appreciate the gathering, making me feel like I was being unreasonable. Trapped in this situation, I couldn't excuse myself without appearing rude, even though I felt my health and the well-being of my unborn child were at risk. Seizing an opportunity when Emma briefly stepped away, I retreated to a quieter room. I wasn't comfortable enough to lie down, but I settled on a cushion I had brought with me, desperate for rest. The tension in the air weighed heavily on me. Emma's earlier remarks had turned the atmosphere into something hostile, like a battleground where I had to constantly defend myself. Despite my best efforts to stay composed, the increasing tightness in my belly reminded me of my vulnerability. At 7 months pregnant, the risk of premature labor loomed, and the added stress only worsened the situation. The pressure of choosing between my health and dealing with Emma's judgment left me feeling trapped. Just as I thought I might get a moment of peace, Emma returned. Her entrance was marked by a sharp rebuke for my attempt to rest, framing it as a failure to fulfill my duties. As she moved closer, the line between family roles blurred in my mind. I wasn't just a daughter-in-law. This harsh treatment made me feel like I wasn't even allowed to be a daughter anymore. Her actions escalated quickly. In one swift motion, Emma snatched the cushion from beneath me, causing me to fall. Instinctively, I threw my arms over my abdomen to shield it, a protective reflex that thankfully softened the blow of her kick. Her aim had been malicious, aimed directly at my belly, but instead, her foot connected with my hands. The aggression in her posture and the looming threat of another attack filled me with terror. My body, slow and hindered by pregnancy, struggled to react. Each movement weighed down by shock and fear. Emma's impatience only heightened the tension, her disdain evident as she prepared to strike again. Just as the fear reached its peak, a commanding voice rang out, halting her attack. My mother appeared in an instant, stepping between Emma and me with fierce determination. Her protective instincts were immediate, her eyes scanning me quickly, asking a flurry of questions about my well-being and the safety of the baby. Even as I reassured her that I was mostly unharmed, save for a small scrape, my mother insisted on checking for herself. It was a comfort to feel her concern, her presence a sharp contrast to the hostility I had just faced. Reluctantly, I showed her the scrape on my leg, brushing it off as a minor injury. But the weight of the moment wasn't lost on me. It was a clear display of the love and protection a mother offers, an undeniable difference from the cruelty I'd just experienced. As I had fallen, my primary instinct had been to shield my belly, and the only result was a minor scrape on my knee. The sight of it, though insignificant, was enough to stir my mother's worry. She was insistent, tending to my injury with a care that calmed my rattled nerves. But her focus didn't stay on me for long. Turning her gaze to Emma, she fixed her with a stern glare. "Emma," she said firmly, her voice carrying the weight of authority, "take a seat over there." She commanded with such authority that Emma instantly complied, her face draining of color. My mom then raised her voice, calling out Emma's actions, her words cutting through the thick tension in the room. Emma tried to justify herself, claiming she was merely adjusting the cushion. It was a weak excuse, one that quickly unraveled. Anyone could see there was no need to adjust a cushion already in use, making her explanation seem ridiculous. I couldn't hide my disbelief at her attempt to cover up her behavior and spoke up. But Emma, unshaken, continued to defend herself. She seemed indifferent to the seriousness of what had just happened, even going so far as to suggest my fall was caused by my own clumsiness, not her interference. The weight of the situation hit me hard. I kept thinking about what could have happened to my baby if I hadn't instinctively shielded my stomach. A knot formed in my chest as a wave of emotions overwhelmed me, leaving me momentarily speechless. Emma, however, seemed eager to move on from the confrontation. Smugly, she suggested we change the subject, offering to replenish the drinks. As she stood up, I felt a sudden urgency. Letting her get away with endangering my child, without confronting her actions, was no longer an option. "You kicked me," I found myself saying, my voice firm despite the turmoil. Emma paused and turned back, feigning surprise. "What are you talking about, Cynthia?" she asked, pretending she had no idea what I meant. "You did kick me, Emma. Whether you intended to move the cushion or not, you aimed for my belly," I asserted, my voice stronger now, pushing through the fear and doubt. Her expression shifted to one of flustered defense as she approached me again. This was the moment where everything had to come to light. There was no more pretending, it wasn't an accident or misunderstanding. What she had done was serious, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. As the tension reached a boiling point, Emma tried to silence me by covering my mouth. My balance faltered, but my mom was quick to react, steadying me with her support. Her sharp look toward Emma was enough to stop her in her tracks, and she retreated to sit down, following my mom's calm yet firm command. Then Emma shifted tactics, playing the victim. Tears welled up in her eyes as she claimed my accusations were nothing more than pregnancy-induced delusions. Her emotional manipulation was chilling, and without solid proof, I briefly felt the sting of doubt. But then, a strong kick from my baby reminded me of my purpose. It was a small but powerful jolt, a reminder of the life I was protecting, and it reignited my determination. Wiping my eyes, I stood up straighter, my resolve hardening. "Emma, your actions have been consistently harmful. From throwing out my belongings to bumping into me and preventing me from resting, all of this is real, not just something in my head," I said with newfound clarity, my voice unwavering. Emma's shock at my assertiveness was unmistakable, but I didn't back down. To dismiss these incidents as delusions is shameless. Using your voice to intimidate me might have worked before, but not now. I'm not just protecting myself, I'm protecting the life growing inside of me. As I touched my belly, I felt a surge of strength and purpose. Emma's anger was clear, and she was ready to retaliate, but the fear that had once gripped me had faded completely. In that moment, I stood not just as a victim of her bullying, but as a mother determined to protect my child at any cost. The tension in the room was thick, and I found myself unable to stay silent any longer. "Come at me if you dare," I challenged, bracing myself for whatever might come next. But what happened next was completely unexpected. My mom burst into laughter. Both Emma and I froze, caught off guard. After a moment, she caught her breath and shared an old saying, "A cornered mouse will bite the cat." Her expression turned serious as she turned to Emma. "Do you have anything else to say?" my mom asked, her voice sharp. Emma tried to brush off my accusations as nonsense, but my mom wasn't having it. She spoke with authority, stating that she trusted her own observations over anything Emma might say. She revealed that she had witnessed everything, including the moment Emma demeaned me and yanked the cushion away. I was stunned. My mom had seen it all. She apologized for not intervening sooner but made it clear that the gravity of the situation was now undeniable. Emma's face drained of color as the realization hit: she'd been caught in her lies, exposed in front of a witness. My mom expressed her concerns about Emma's behavior, admitting that she hadn't wanted to act without proof. But now that everything was clear, she commended me for standing up for myself and assured me of her unwavering support. In the aftermath, an emergency family meeting was called. The decision was made to cut ties with Emma. My mom took charge of organizing visits, ensuring I would never have to face her again. My brother, confronted with the truth, was deeply apologetic. He acknowledged the pain Emma's actions had caused and admitted that they stemmed from her struggles with infertility. While I still couldn't bring myself to forgive her, I couldn't help but feel a sliver of sympathy for her. The birth of my child marked a new chapter for me and Paul. His tears of joy, his dedication to our newborn despite his inexperience, filled me with love and gratitude. The challenges that had led up to this moment had been immense, but I knew the journey of parenthood would bring its own. This entire ordeal brought my mom and me closer together. I now had a strong, reliable support system, and with their help, I was ready to embrace motherhood. With all its joys and challenges ahead, I knew I could provide a loving and nurturing environment for my child.